this section here. So much dust. The way the light catches the flakes of orange oxidation is just stunning. Look at that texture coming through now. It's incredibly satisfying.
Gently sweeping the frame tubes, moving down to the engine fins. Watch the dust lift away in the light. Hear that crisp sound, blasting away the years of dust from these crevices. This foam is specifically designed to lift the grime without damaging the classic paintwork of your vintage Kawasaki.
Scrubbing the forks of this beautiful 1973 Z1. Look at that dirt just coming right off.
Restoring this 1973 Kawasaki Z1 to its former glory, one careful rinse at a time. Watch the grime wash away from the cooling fins of this classic Z1 engine.
The rust spider webbing under the paint on the tank is extensive.
Yeah, and the corrosion on the engine casing is deep. We'll have to bead blast this entire section.
Using the ratchet to get the final bolt. Now, carefully lift the seat straight up, revealing the battery box and wiring harness underneath. You want to be careful when removing this last bolt. As you can see, the fender is already starting to separate from the mounts.
Look at that. 40 years of road grime packed in there. And that should be the last one. 50 years of rust really sees these on there. All right, with the brake perch off, we can slide the whole assembly free. Now moving on to the risers with the socket wrench. When removing the harness, take your time. These connectors are 40 years old now, so they can be brittle. We'll just gently pull these apart. Okay, focusing on the Z1 chain guard now. Look at that thick grease. Let's gently scrape this away. And there we have it. You can see the pitting on the chrome here, and the bushings are completely shot.
This is the lower fork leg. You can see the heavy corrosion and caked on oil. We're using a brass brush here to gently work away the thickest grime.
Apply steady pressure until it breaks free. Now, you can carefully unscrew the rest by hand, feeling for any resistance.
Look at this pitting here. We'll have to sandblast this whole section.
Apply the thick gel directly to the corroded areas. As you can see, it immediately starts to work on this vintage Kawasaki frame. Let's clean this vintage Kawasaki bracket. Gently applying the solution, listen to the fizz. Now the brush, slowly revealing the metal underneath.
Applying the solution now, making sure to get deep into the crevices. Look at that shine coming through as we work the brush.
Kawasaki parts are soaking now. See the bubbles gently lifting away the grime.
Just working this compound in slowly. You can already see that mirror finish starting to come through. Okay, we're starting with a 400 grit on this old Z1 tank. Just nice and smooth, getting that original paint off. See how the chemical lifts the paint right off the aluminum? That's exactly what we want.
We apply the degreaser, letting it soak in. Then we scrub vigorously with a stiff brush until the foam
And here it is, 40,000 miles of buildup. The wear marks here show exactly why this engine needed a rebuild. These are the freshly machined cylinders for the legendary 1973 Kawasaki Z1. Precision is everything in a restoration like this. Is the critical part. Using the ring compressor, we slowly ease the piston into the cylinder. Perfect alignment is key on these Z1s.
All right, so we're looking at the Z1 crank now. Need to make sure these journals are absolutely spotless before we measure the runout.
Slide the gear into place, then use your circlip pliers to secure the retaining clip. Make sure it spins freely before moving on. All right, once the spring is compressed, we carefully drop the keepers into the groove, then gently release the tension, making sure they seat correctly. And there we have it, the IN mark perfectly aligned with the scribe. Slow and steady now. Feel for the alignment pins. That looks perfect.
First, we carefully unscrew the float bowl. With the bowl removed, we can extract the main jet using tweezers. Finally,
the final surface preparation is critical for a flawless paint job. We use a fine grit to achieve this perfect satin finish.
We're laying down the first coats of gray primer now, ensuring every tube is perfectly covered before the color goes on.
Keep the gun perpendicular to the surface and maintain your speed.
We use the precision driver to guide the bearing in. You'll hear the pitch change when it's fully seated against the steering race.
All right, steady now. Make sure the bearings are seated correctly before we torque the stem nut down to the factory specification. With the new shocks installed, this Z1 is almost ready to hit the road.
Hold it steady. Almost there. Got it.
Listen for that distinct click. That means we've reached the precise setting and the engine is secure.
Now we slide the axle in. You have to be careful not to scratch the polished fork legs. Once it's through, we can hand tighten the nut and give it a spin.
Listen to that. Smooth engagement, perfect fit.
We're fitting the restored bank now. You want to ensure a perfect seal on these new rubber boots before torquing the clamps. We make sure the grommets are secure before applying pressure. There we go, perfectly flush.
All right, the Z1 system is mounted. Let's torque these down to spec.
Just got to make sure these rubber boots are seated properly before we tighten the bolts. Perfect, just like new. Running smooth. Idle check is solid.
And that is the final wipe. Look at that mirror finish. Perfect. Feast your eyes on this flawless 1973 Kawasaki Z1. Notice the mirror finish